Hey, good morning, everybody. Tim from Alpha Trading coming at you with another CEO interview. And this one is actually, I wanted to do this one a month ago, but unfortunately, I got the COVID and that ruined our plans. But we are now able to meet with Louis Laflamme from OpSens, and this is a very interesting story. The stock recently has had a pullback, but it is rebounding after the earnings report that they just released, and I think probably the guidance is what has given it this lift. But Louis, I want to thank you for coming in to do this interview and tell us about yourself and the company.
Thanks a lot for the invitation, Tim. I'm really glad that we have the opportunity to talk together this morning.
All right. So the company is OpSens, and the ticker symbol is OPSSF, as in Frank. So, Louis, before we get into what exactly OpSens does, do me a favor and kind of give us a little bit of background on you and how you got here.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, I'm a CPA by academic background. I've worked in high-tech companies all my life, but a vast majority of my career has been with OpSens. So I've been working at OpSens since 2005. At the time, the monthly sales were something like $8,000 per month, while today, when we do 3 million is not a disappointment, but still we are striving to do better. So there was a lot of growth at OpSens. We are really proud of the contribution we think we are making on the field for patients, for doctors, and for the community.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what exactly OpSens does.
Yeah, it's fairly simple. Is that OpSens was founded based on a fiber optic sensing technology. So it means that with light, we can measure parameters such as pressure, temperature, and displacement. And we've been applying this in very specific applications where there is unmet needs. So today you are showing here on the deck the medical platform that represents 90% of our revenues. So in the medical platform, we are using the fiber optic sensing technology either for pressure or temperature, and with that we can better support the doctors. On top of the medical business, we also use exactly the same optical sensing technology in industrial applications, where we think we are developing right now a technology that will be the future around the monitoring of fuel in airplanes.
Fuel in airplanes.
Yeah, using the same fiber optic, but the core business is clearly the cardiovascular field. Like I mentioned, initially the company was, only sensors. When I say only, not necessarily that it's not complex. So we have, incredibly small device that I'm sure you can barely see right now. And with that, it's a 0.25 millimeter diameter sensor that you can insert into a variety of medical device companies. So initially, we've been selling only sensors under business partnerships. So OEM business with recognized medical device companies in the world. OpSens technology is being used as example by the Impella from Abiomed, which is recognized as the leader in circulatory assist device for cardiovascular application. This being said, at some point we felt that we could do more than just selling sensors. So we developed a full medical device product that we call the OptoWire. So you can see a very, very tiny wire where the fiber optic pressure sensor is inserted inside. And with this, we can help the cardiologist to assess the blood flow around the heart, and we can support them in making a decision about implementing a stent or not. So this was when we moved from only selling sensors to selling a full medical device product. Obviously, this had a lot of impact on the commercialization, because suddenly, instead of selling to companies, we were going to sell to hospitals. So we've been developing in the last few years sales channels to sell all around the world the OptoWire product that I just showed you. So today we have distributors and commercial partners for Europe and Japan, while we have a direct sales force for North America. So, and we've been progressing still in a market where there is a lot of opportunities for growth. And one path to growth is to have a broader sales channels in North America. But to be able to, to be financially efficient, having only one product to sell was a challenge. And that's where, and you bring the picture of Mick Jagger. OpSens, we have very unique core competencies. So in terms of having very small and accurate sensing, the capability to develop small device, the capability to display information to physicians. So we've been looking at application where we could use those core competencies and again, have a contribution to the field. And that's where the structural heart or the trans-aortic valve replacement procedure, or if you prefer TAVR, was something that, it was growing rapidly, but there was no equipment, no wires that could do the full procedure only with one device. And that's where we came with the SavvyWire. So the SavvyWire is a product that, we've done a filing with the FDA and Health Canada. It's not available yet, but we think it can better support the doctors during the procedure, because with this, we have the possibility to eliminate the utilization of various equipment. Let's say today, some doctors are using one device to do heart stimulation, one device to deliver the new valve, and other devices to measure pressure inside the heart. While in our case, the SavvyWire will be a concept that can do all of that only with one device. And we think this can generate some interest with the doctors. So
that's really gonna shrink down, I would think, maybe I'm wrong, but that's going to shrink the amount of time that they are having to do this procedure, right?
Well, we don't have data to
demonstrate
this,
right?
But still, when we look at this, of course, if you don't have to prepare a new access to do the right ventricle pacing, obviously you are going to save time with this. So right. And we've been able to show during the first in-man patient, where we've done 20 patients, that it was feasible to use the SavvyWire and to perform all those functions. So from a concept perspective, we capitalize on the core competencies of OpSens, so it's really a concept that is generating a lot of interest. On top of this, it's going to make OpSens stronger, because as I mentioned, in the past, we had only one product to sell to physicians, so the salespeople had only one product. While once we get the approval on the SavvyWire, we'll have the opportunity to sell two products to the same customers. They will use the same monitors in the hospital. So we think this will make us much more relevant for doctors, for hospitals, and for purchasing group, which are also partners that are helping us in the commercialization.
Okay, so you have partnered with companies here in the U.S. to.
Well, we sell directly with our own employee, okay. But in U.S. there is some companies or organization that we call the GPOs, so the group purchasing organization, And in their case, they negotiate with suppliers like OpSens, and they have members, so hospitals that are combining their purchasing to obtain access to great products at proper conditions. And for us, it was a way to lower the bar with the administration, because when we go to administration, they need to accept that a doctor would use a certain product. So we feel that, again, one way to make OpSens more successful, even if we have been growing in general year over year, was to have a second product in our portfolio, but also to have agreement with GPOs. So we already have a contract with Vizient. We already have a contract with another significant GPO. And at the last conference call that happened last week, I mentioned that OpSens had the goal to sign one additional GPO contract before the summer of this year. So we think once we achieve this, we'll be really in a great position to capture market share around the OptoWire, while also being really efficient in doing the commercialization of the SavvyWire. And the last component is that clearly right now, OpSens is in a great financial position with more than $30 million in cash with very small debt. So our intention is to invest, to increase the sales and marketing force to really capitalize on the exciting opportunities that we have in front of us.
Okay, so your product, is that considered a would that fall under, what do I want to call this? Medical equipment. It's medical equipment, right? So it's a
diagnostic device.
Yeah, it's a device.
Yeah, so it's a medical device for cardiovascular application. Let's say OptoWire is used to assess the blood circulation around the heart. So the doctors are making a decision about, does I implement a stent or not? While the SavvyWire will be for the TAVR procedure, where, you know, sometimes in some occasion, let's say the heart of some patient is not properly opening, and this is having an impact on the pressure or the capability to circulate the blood around the body. So in such case, there is the TAVR procedure has been developed to deliver with a minimally invasive approach. So no surgeries, no need to open the thoracic cage, while still replacing the existing valve. And this is improving, I mean, the blood circulation or the capability of the heart to do its job. And it has shown great clinical performance for the patient. So there's nobody else that has this technology, right? Today in the market, there is no wires that exist that can do the valve delivery, that can do what we call heart stimulation or rapid pacing, and that can measure pressure, so hemodynamic information inside the heart. So this would be the first concept that would do that.
Okay. That's pretty exciting. So let's just back up for a second, because I want to really clarify it. You are in a very good cash position. You don't see a need to do any kind of a capital raise in the near future, right? You have very little debt, which is music to my ears. Now, with your product, is there any recurring revenue component to it, or is it like a one-time sale, you're done? It's
somehow in between, because those type of devices are single use. So you cannot reuse them. So you could say, well, it's one-time sale because you sell one device at the time. On the other side, it's not like if it's a permanent device. If I use the example of the monitor, when we place a monitor in the hospital, the monitor can serve for multiple procedures. Right. While in the case of the wires, it's single use. Consequently, each time we develop new customers, if they have patient, and as you know, there is a lot of cardiovascular needs, and if they have patient, we have somehow this recurring path to really develop and generate revenue growth.
So you got the razor blade model, essentially, is what you have. Right?
Exactly. And on top of this, I would say today we have the razor blade model with one product. So the strategy of OpSens is to bring the SavvyWire, which will be another razor, a different razor, but that will still connect with the same, it's another razor blade that will still connect with the razor. So we think it's something that is of interest for the hospitals, because they want to manage the footprint, they want to manage the number of monitors they have in the field, and somehow this can support them in their chase for efficiency.
So insurance reimbursement, is that something that you guys have to pursue to get for your product, or is that something?
Somehow our product is bundled into the overall procedure.
Right.
So
okay.
Our approach is to deliver high quality products with a strong value proposition. And if I take the example of the SavvyWire, the fact that you can eliminate a wire to deliver the valve is a certain saving. The fact that you can eliminate the right ventricle pacing is another saving. The fact that you may be able to reduce the need around echography is another saving. And on top of this, as we mentioned at the beginning, if we eliminate different steps, this has the potential to lead to time saving, which can be quite important. We've been talking with one doctor that sometimes can do something like 6 or 7 TAVR procedure in a day. So if we do the assumption, and again, it's not proven yet, but if we do the assumption that they can save 10 or 15 minutes per day, it means that suddenly they could do one additional patient. So which has an impact on the profitability of the procedure for the hospital, and also an impact on the management of the queue of patients that they can have.
Right. So where are you at in terms of, see, I know you've submitted that, but what's the timeline, do you think, on potentially getting approval?
Yeah. So the timeline that we mentioned at the last conference call, and we are confident we can achieve this, is that we are hoping to get the approval in Canada somewhere in before June 2022. For US, we expect to secure the approval in September or October. The reason why it's a little bit later for the FDA is that when we performed the first in-man study in Canada, Health Canada already went through a lot of documentation on our side. So even if we have filed at the same time, they probably have some advance in terms of validating the safety of this wire. So, but for us, getting the approval on this device will be a clear milestone that should help us to continue to generate growth, because we are striving for growth in all of our markets with our existing products. So either with the OptoWire for the fractional flow reserve procedure, so the blood flow around the heart, or the OEM business, or the industrial business. So we feel we are quite, again, well organized, well financed, and going after market opportunities that are significant.
And obviously you're executing, because prior to the last quarter, and let's just talk real quickly about the little pullback, and let me pull the chart up on it real quick here. So you guys actually this is impressive, because over the last 12 months, the small and micro cap space has been really crushed.
Yeah.
Your stock was bucking the trend of the overall market, which was very impressive, right? And it was in this big upward trend from basically November of 2020. And then right here, we had a little bit of we broke that trend, right? And we pull them back. And that was because why?
Well, first, I'll convey my feedback, but Tim, you are an expert in stock evaluation and stock market. I'm an entrepreneur managing a company. This being said, our view is that OpSens has been undervalued for a long period of time, and usually, in medical device field, you can get an enterprise value compared to sales, maybe a ratio of, something like 7 or 10, even in a high-tech situation. So we were trending in that direction. And as we progress in terms of getting feedback from customers, we have used more than 150,000 of those devices so far. So the credibility of OpSens in the field really increased. The investors are seeing the potential around the SavvyWire. We financed the company at $1.80 more than a year ago, $1.80 Canadian a share. And suddenly, when you see the stock going down, there was two things that were happening. I think first, in general, the medical device field had a correction of 40%, which is almost what you are seeing there. On top of this, as you know, COVID did not help because some of our procedures, the market where we are selling to, was severely affected. And this generated some nervosity with investors. So we think that's why you saw a decrease. And now when we look forward, not that COVID will disappear anytime soon, but we think, somehow the hospital and our life, we begin better in managing this. So again, we can see.
Let me clarify something. So is this an elective procedure?
It's yes and no. Let's say there is some patient that you can say, yes, you can come back in 2 months and it will be okay. Some patient where, if you don't treat them immediately, they are at risk of mortality. So, COVID had an impact on our revenue growth, and this negatively affected the stock price. Now, what we mentioned at the last conference call is that, in Q3 2021, so the comparative quarter for us, which is March, April, and May 2021, we had $9.2 million in sales. In Q2, the Q2 2022 that we just announced, we had $8.1 million. The point is that I mentioned that we expect to see in Q3, our revenues to come back toward the trend of this $9.2 million. So investors are looking for growth, and we think OpSens is the right place to find growth, just because of the uniqueness of our technology, the market size that we are going after, and the innovation that we are going to bring. So why the stock is beginning to, come back, and we went up to $3.75 Canadian. So we don't feel we are anywhere close to where we've been, but our approach is a long-term approach where we think we can deliver very strong return for shareholders with revenue growth. So revenue growth, our vision is to achieve $100 million in sales in 2025, where we had something like $35 million last year. Innovation, so we'll bring the SavvyWire to the market in a very exciting application, a growing market where all the eyes of cardiology are placed. And on top of this, we have various other ideas where, again, we can use the unique core competencies of OpSens to solve some needs in the medical device field. So when you combine this, I mean, generating growth, getting the approval on the SavvyWire, and continue to innovate, with that, we are in a good position to create value for shareholders.
So you've got, so let me just re-highlight. You've got a potential catalyst when you get approval for in Canada,
SavvyWire in Canada, SavvyWire in US, and a little bit down the road, more a 2023 story, clearance for EMEA, so Europe.
Right.
On top of this, we are going to sign one additional GPO contract, which should enhance our capability to grow in US.
Okay.
And on top of this,
so that's three near-term catalysts right there.
Yes.
Right. Just from a technical standpoint, I'm going to go back to the technical thing for a second here. It's actually got an interesting formation here. This could be almost considered a reverse head and shoulders pattern. Very close. You're not understanding what the heck I'm saying, but the technical guys will. And then actually what you just put in, which is kind of interesting, is you could maybe classify this as what would be called a double bottom. That now you're back above the 50-day. The 50-day is flattened out, and actually, what's also kind of interesting is I always like to put things in boxes for some reason. It's just, but if you look at this, you kind of been trading from, let's say, what is that? From January till now, and just kind of bouncing around in this box, right?
Yes.
So right now you're coming up to the top of that box. I wouldn't be surprised if you were to stall out here a little bit. Maybe I'm not suggesting that you come all the way back down and test this area here, but I could see it just maybe continuing to bounce around within this box for a little bit until because right now you have to look at it. This is actually a pretty decent sized move from what a $125 to a $175, right? So you got to absorb that, let it sink in, and let the bulls and the bears decide who wants to take charge and which direction it's going to go. But I would suggest that with those catalysts that we just discussed, I think maybe the next move could be a breakout out of that box to the upside. So what you'll probably have as resistance is $2, because round numbers for some reason have some kind of a significance with people's brains.
Yeah.
So there will likely be some resistance there. And you also have this white line, which is the 200-day moving average, which is kind of a big thing for technical people as well, right? So those could be a couple of areas of minimal resistance. I don't see them as being big resistance areas, but that's my take from a technical standpoint. I usually do that at the end, but
that's interesting, Tim. And I rarely get this kind of view on the stock price. This being said, in management's mind here, and employees' mind of OpSens, we are striving to hit our milestone, to deliver products that are meeting some needs in the medical device field. And with that, we know that the stock price will take care of himself.
Right. And you know what? I tell everybody the same thing. If you were to manage your business because of what its chart is doing, I would be like, you're insane, right?
Yeah.
Who cares what the chart is doing?
But it's still interesting for me to get your perspective with all your experience on this. It's quite interesting to hear that.
See, what's interesting is that there are two types of traders. First, there's technical guys who really don't know what you do, don't care what you do. They literally trade off of the chart, right? And they're experts in reading areas of support and resistance, and they can trade your stock and not know what the hell the company even does. I've actually seen people say, does anybody know what that company does? And that to me was crazy. I could not understand how you could buy something and not know what they do. I just was like blown away by that. But that's technical guys. And then there's the fundamental guys that, they don't even look at a chart. They don't care about the chart. They only want to know, is the company making money, and do they have the clean cap table, right? I mean, that's all they care about. What I like to do is I like to try to understand both sides. If I can understand the fundamental guy, right, and where he's coming from, and I can also understand the technical guy and where he's coming, or she, where they're coming from, then if I can align the two, right, with a potentially great catalyst or story with a good looking chart setup, you have the opportunity for potentially a nice return on your investment, right?
I like this approach. Somehow the technical may help you to find the right timing and making the investment and managing this. But of course, the foundation of the business, what we have, is important, because technically you can do well, but if there is nothing behind it,
important in my mind. I mean, look, you can have a nice technical run, and then you can have a short squeeze, and stocks can go to crazy valuations, right?
I think we saw that in the last year.
Right? But that does not last, because why? Because the fundamentals always come home, right? I mean, it always like, okay, hey guys, this thing is trading at some point the stock will reflect the fundamentals, right? So that's why it's just important for
Tim, and if we would have fun and dig to the graph, we could see also that OpSens has probably not done a lot of investor relation activities like we are doing today. So OpSens is probably unknown by a large group of investors in US, and this is probably not helping the stock price, and that's why we are beginning to do a little bit more. We get some research coverage by high reputation firms and so on, and we feel that this will help OpSens to be properly recognized, because again, the employees here, they have put all their efforts to bring products that are really making a difference in the cath lab and with doctors. I'll just use an example. In the OEM business, we are selling sensors that are helping to do a brain trauma treatment. So really, products that can make a difference in the life of patients. And if you go in that direction, in a market where the needs are growing, your probability of success are probably much higher.
You're helping doctors, you're helping the patients, because, and I know that the one hasn't been proven yet, but if you can reduce the amount of time that they have to be in a procedure, I think there are benefits probably to their health, the risk, right? I mean, these are significant things in my mind, right? So at some point, that's going to get recognized, and once it gets when you get the approval, and you have, I'm sure that once you have the approval, right? Will you have any independent research done, like white papers or anything that will be put out?
I was getting there. I think once we get the approval, the company has plans to demonstrate the value proposition around the SavvyWire. So this, we can take different angles right now, and I'm not ready to get to the finest details on this, but the point is that we may be able to show that, okay, the superiority of our concept for a certain application, or the reduction in risk or mortality, if you compare, let's say, doing the heart stimulation in the left part of the heart versus the right part of the heart. So all kind of ideas where we think the product, the technology is there, and we have the financial resources to invest in some clinical studies that will really make this concept a standard in the industry.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to get off of the chart thing real quick here. And so let's talk real quickly about the industrial segment of the market, because I just thought that was, you go
Yeah.
from the heart
Well,
to airplane fuel.
again, if I come back to what I said at the beginning, with light, we can measure parameters. And of course, the size, the components around the products, the sensor can be different. But in the industrial market, there is various needs. So OpSens got great recognition. We've been selected by the largest nuclear project in the world called ITER, where in the project, they are using OpSens pressure sensor to validate.
For nuclear fusion.
This was for nuclear fusion. It's a project going on in France. And also, we announced, maybe a year or two ago, a project where OpSens technology is being adapted to measure fuel in airplanes. And we think this can have a great contribution to the community, because today, to measure fuel, companies like Airbus and Boeing, they may use electrical sensors, and for different reasons, they need to protect those sensors and add a lot of component around, which is adding weight to the airplane. While in our case, we would come with a concept where fiber optic is really light, it's safe, it cannot create an explosion, and so on. So it may be a perfect application for our technology. And again, it could help to make either the maintenance or the airplane itself more efficient. So we think there is a value for this. There is interest in the industry. We are working with a great partner in Spain. So we are putting the foundation to really disrupt the market in industrial application, while this wholly owned subsidiary that we call OpSens Solution today is already a cash flow positive business. So the idea is that to have an identity, to create momentum, there is a management team in that organization. There is a large base of customers. So we have the potential to create value in the industrial business.
So, one thing I want to point out really quickly. So you brought up a very good point that you're not well known, right? And Wall Street in the US has done a fantastic job of misleading retail investors that they should stay away from low price stocks. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, when you're running a $10 billion fund, you are not going to be participating in a $1.50 stock, most likely, right? Some funds have covenants that won't even allow them to buy shares of stock under $5. So, or under $1, right? So if you have a $10 billion fund, and the way the funds manage their funds is they identify an opportunity. They say, okay, let's take 3% of the fund and put it into XYZ. Well, if XYZ is $1.50 a share, 3% of $10 billion fund is a lot of money.
Maybe the full company, yeah. But I think, when you talk about the reputation of some, small cap stock with stock price between $1 to $2, one issue is probably that some of them have very small fundamentals. While in our case, we've been working really hard for 17 years in developing long-term relationship with customers, in developing good products. So I feel that we are different than this type of companies.
Let me ask you, how big of a TAM, or how big of a total addressable market do you feel that you have?
Right now, let's say for our product, in TAVR, we probably go after a total addressable market somewhere between $100 to $200 million, while in the case of coronary artery disease, so for OpSens, it's an addressable market of $600 million. And for the sensing business, either in medical and industrial, it's very difficult to define a specific TAM, but you can be sure that it's multiple hundred of millions of dollars. So overall, we probably go after more than a $1 billion TAM, and we just need to put the right strategy, the right teammates to really capitalize on this opportunity
and execute. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, we'll do that. I mean, like I mentioned to you, we've been working for 17 years, having a long-term approach, and we are not going to change this. So we want to make things right, and when you make things right, customers are staying with you.
I agree 100%. So, the point that I want to make is that it doesn't matter if it's a high price stock or a low price stock. There are garbage companies that are high priced and there are garbage companies that are low priced. Just like there are great companies that are low priced and great companies that are high priced.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of doing your due diligence and finding the ones that are good and identifying the ones that maybe aren't so good, right?
That's an art.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. To generalize and say, it's low price stock, so it must not be good, is pretty dumb, because Apple at one point was $3 a share. Microsoft at one point was $3 a share. Okay. Yeah. They don't start out as big behemoths. They grow into that. And it's all about having the product and having a plan, a vision, the strategy, and then ultimately execution. And the most important thing, I feel, is leadership, right? You can have a great product, you can have a great service, but if you don't have great leadership, I think the odds are stacked against you. That's my personal opinion.
It's a really good point. And we've been adding to the leadership team to really have all the experiences and the capabilities that we need to succeed in our markets.
Right. It's a team. And I'm not saying, I don't want to make it clear that I'm not saying that it's only the leadership that delivers. It's the entire team. Yeah. But it's having a leader that recognizes that it's a team, that, there's what's the saying? If you are in a room and you think you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room, right? I want the smarter people around me. And that's who I want to hire, is people that are smarter than me, right?
I agree with you.
My ego is not what's important. What's important is the success of the company, right? Yeah. That's and yet
I agree with that.
I have to feel that. That's why I want to meet with every person that, or every leader that of a company that I'm considering investing in, right? So I want to be able to get that feeling from whoever is leading the charge. So hopefully that makes sense for people. So the other thing that I would say real quickly is that there is another benefit to you being relatively unknown, and that is you're profitable.
Well, we've been profitable for 4 quarters when COVID was announced. I mean, the vision there was to show to investors like you and your collaborators that OpSens was having solid customers, solid products. Now that a financing has been completed in 2021, early 2021, we are investing massively in developing the sales channels and massively in R&D. So for, let's say for the next couple of years, we expect to burn some money, but still, a burn rate that will be really comfortable in the context where we have $30 million in the bank account with growing sales.
You're self-sustaining, right? Yeah. You're going to have some burn, which is okay because you're planning on having a new product, new growth segments, right? So that makes sense, right? So, and as long as you're self-sustaining, that is the only thing for me, that's extremely important, right? if you have to keep going back to the capital markets and diluting the
Well,
crap out of the shareholders, speaking of that, how many shares do you have fully outstanding?
we have 108 million, 8 million share outstanding right now, with probably something like 6 million stock options, and that's it. There is no other diluting instruments in our cap table, and we feel from a value creation standpoint, it's really important to properly control dilution, properly control the cap table, because then, okay, you don't have to fight against time. When you hit milestone and you create value within the business, this should reflect in the stock price. So,
okay, something really important here. I almost forgot this, and I'm glad so right now you are currently traded on the OTC, right?
yeah.
Are there any plans at some point to uplist to a senior exchange?
The board of directors is reviewing all components of our financial strategy. A potential uplisting in US is something that we could explore. And when we'll make that decision, we'll make sure that we are exactly at the right time to be really successful on a major US exchange.
Which is smart, because the last thing you want to do is just uplist to an exchange, just to uplist to the exchange. You want to have all cylinders firing,
yeah,
and the wind in
timing
your sails,
is important.
Right?
I mean, you look at graph, and you need to be strategic in this approach. But it would be a good way to get more visibility around OpSens stock? The answer is probably yes. But having proper timing and having the winning condition when you go there, we think is essential.
I'm going to throw one other thing out here, and that's just basically the other benefit of you maybe not being well known is when you do start to pop up on people's radars and companies' radars, you yourself could be a pretty attractive target as a potential takeout candidate. Right? I mean,
sure. Again, our vision, we have a long-term vision with OpSens where we build solid products, solid relationship with customers. Thus, at some point, it could be of interest to combine this business within a larger organization. Maybe yes, maybe no. But one thing is sure is that we are not going to be on our knee waiting after someone that comes for us. We build a solid company, and there is an approach in medical device where companies are not being sold, they are being bought. So our job here is to deliver performance, deliver growth, innovation, and the future will tell.
Louis, I love this conversation. I think we did a bang up job, but I'm kind of biased since I'm the one doing it.
So, well, it has been a real pleasure for me to discuss with you, and I will be honored to keep you informed about any development at OpSens.
No, absolutely. Listen, so right above my head here, and if you want to reach out to OpSens directly or sign up for their email alerts, that is the link or the website address right above my head. And I would recommend, listen, I am not a financial advisor. I'm not telling anybody to buy the stock. That is entirely up to you to do your own due diligence. But you just heard from the man himself, the plan, the strategy, and the vision. I do believe that they have some really nice potential catalysts that are coming up. I think this is an attractive level to get involved in the stock. Me personally, I am in the stock. I want to make sure everybody knows that I am in the stock. And I am kind of upset because I did not catch that dip to add to my position. But if it pulls back, I think in this area, anywhere between the 150, the 125 area, I think would be a great place to add to the position. I don't think you're going to get, even if you took it here at the 180, I don't think you're going to get necessarily hurt if you're not in the stock at all, it probably wouldn't be a bad place to take a starter position. But that's just my opinion. And with that, $5, you can get a pretty good cup of coffee. So, anything else, Louis, that you feel like I might have missed?
No, I think you covered a lot. I would just conclude saying that OpSens team is really excited about where we are today, and we think we have all the components to substantially create value for shareholders.
One last thing, I always have one more thing. Insider participation. Have insiders been picking up shares at all in the open market? I haven't looked, and I could go. I mean, I can, but I just thought I'd ask.
Well, first, I would say that for me personally, OpSens is a really significant position in my family wealth, and there has been some stock option exercise by directors relatively recently, and overall, the participation of insider is substantial in OpSens.
Okay, perfect. Louis, thank you so much for coming in and doing this interview. Hang out 1 second. I'm going to wrap this up, but hold on 1 second. I want to talk to you off market or off camera here. Hey there, all you stock market junkies. Thanks for tuning into yet another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we had Louis Laflamme from OpSens, ticker symbol OPSSF, F is in Frank. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? While you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.